This isn't philosophy. This isn't wishful thinking. This is quantum entanglement, the most radical truth of existence. It means you are already connected to every version of yourself that ever was or ever will be. The version of you that thrives, the version that's fearless, the version that wakes up every morning in awe of their own life. They're not out there. They're waiting in the field, just one shift in perception away. The question isn't whether your dream life is real. The question is, why haven't you tuned into it yet? If your life feels stuck, if your goals feel out of reach, it's not because they're far away. It's because your current identity is still entangled with a version of you that doubts, delays, and self-sabotages. But the moment you shift who you believe yourself to be, not in your thoughts, but in your state, everything begins to rearrange. Here's the truth most people never learn. They spend their lives trying to force change from the outside in, hustling, struggling, pushing. Even when they find the spiritual path, they repeat the same mistake. They try to visualize their way into a new life instead of collapsing the identity that's anchoring them to the old one. That's why this video isn't just another explanation of the law of attraction. It's a deconstruction of reality and a guide to collapsing timelines. This is where two powerful concepts meet: quantum entanglement and quantum jumping. Entanglement explains why your energy affects matter, why your state influences your outcomes, and why even your subconscious programs aren't operating in isolation. You're broadcasting a signal into the quantum field at all times, and that signal isn't your words, it's your vibration. It's the way your identity interacts with possibility. Quantum jumping, on the other hand, is often misunderstood. It's not magic, and it's not escapism. It's a recalibration of identity that allows you to move between entangled realities, realities where different versions of you already exist, waiting to be observed, activated, and lived. Here's where it gets wild. You've already felt this. That moment when you made a decision and everything changed instantly, that was a jump. That sudden shift in perception, where you saw yourself differently, even just for a second, that was a timeline ripple. The gut feeling that you're meant for something more. That isn't fantasy. That's your future self leaking through the cracks in the quantum field. Time isn't linear. It's layered. Which means your future self can reach backward just as easily as you can reach forward. You are in a feedback loop with the version of you who already made it, and the connection is active right now. That's the code. That's the secret. The field doesn't need your effort. It needs your coherence. It needs your clarity. It needs your frequency to match what you're asking for, not with words, but with being. In this video, we're going to dismantle everything you thought you knew about manifestation and walk step by step through the most powerful tool you've never fully understood: how quantum entanglement makes timeline jumping not only possible, but inevitable when you know how to use it. This won't be about visualization. It won't be about wishing, hoping, or trying. This is about identity collapse, frequency alignment. Reality is code. Quantum entanglement is not just a theory. It's one of the most well-documented and least understood phenomena in modern physics. In simple terms, it means that two particles, once connected, remain linked in such a way that changing one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. But what no one talks about is what this means for you, for your consciousness, your identity, and your reality. Because if matter can behave like that, why not you? You are not a single particle in a void. You are a living, breathing field of consciousness. And just like those particles, you've been entangled not only with other people, but with versions of yourself that exist across timelines. Versions that made different decisions, that followed different instincts, that healed instead of running, jumped instead of waiting, chose instead of doubting. You're not disconnected from them. You're vibrating in sync or out of sync with them. And that's what creates the version of you that the field reflects back as your life. But here's the glitch. Most people stay entangled with the version of themselves that is still surviving, still holding on, still afraid. Not because they want to, but because they were trained to. Through repetition, through trauma, through identity loops so deep they no longer question them. And what you stay entangled with, you reinforce, you broadcast, you collapse into reality. So when people say, "I've tried to manifest but nothing works," the issue isn't their effort. It's that their signal, the deep, unconscious one, is still broadcasting from the version of them that doesn't believe, that doesn't move, that doesn't act as if the new reality is already theirs. Here's where the field gets strict. The quantum field doesn't respond to want. It doesn't respond to begging. It doesn't even respond to visualization alone. It responds to frequency. And your frequency isn't determined by what you think about for 5 minutes a day. It's shaped by what you embody every moment. You are the observer, and the observer collapses the timeline. But what version of you is doing the observing? That's the question most people never ask, and it's why most people never jump. Because jumping isn't something you do, it's something you become. You can't quantum jump into your dream life if you're still acting from the version of you who doesn't feel worthy of it. You can't shift timelines by visualizing success while making decisions based on fear. The field doesn't care about your words. It cares about what you are entangled with, about what you reinforce through your behavior, your focus, your energy. And sometimes, the version of you who has what you want is actually pulling on the cord. You feel it in flashes, in dreams, in moments where reality feels thin. You get glimpses of that other life, not because you're imagining it, but because you're bleeding into it. It's bleeding into you. The connection is already active. The question is, how long will you keep ignoring it? Here's how to begin re-entangling your field, not just through belief or mindset, but through direct, intentional identity collapse. That's how we jump. That's how we move. That's how we stop looping and start shifting. Start with awareness. Ask yourself, who is the version of me that's currently choosing this life? What are their beliefs, their fears, their core assumptions about reality? Feel into it. You'll notice a pattern, a weight in your chest, a tightness in your throat. That's the current observer's imprint. Now, the most important question, am I willing to let that version of me die? Because that's what a jump really is. It's not a leap across timelines, it's a funeral. It's the quiet, conscious, sacred death of the self that can no longer carry your future. Here's the method. In 3 parts. Witness, sit in absolute presence with the version of you that you're ready to collapse. Let them speak. Let them be seen, not judged. Most timelines don't fade because they're resisted. They fade because they're outgrown with grace. Sever, shift the entanglement. Speak aloud or internally. This is no longer who I am. I release this version. I collapse this observer. You'll feel resistance. That's natural. The old self fights for its life. But it only has power if you believe its voice is still yours. Choose. Once the field is clear, choose the new identity. But don't just think it. Embody it. Stand like them. Breathe like them. Decide from their frequency. Don't ask, what would the version of me who has everything do? Ask, what does that version no longer tolerate? And stop tolerating it. Now, these steps aren't a one-time ritual. They are a way of being. Each day, each breath, is a reinforcement of the new entanglement. And over time, not in years but in energetic cycles, the field will adjust, because it has no choice. The observer collapses the wave into a particle. Reality conforms to the identity of the observer, but only when that identity is consistent. The version of you who already lives the life you want is not a stranger. It's not some future avatar. It's a memory encoded in your energetic field, a path that's still active, waiting for you to walk it. Jumping isn't the end. It's the beginning of recalibration. Without integration, even the most powerful leap will crumble under the weight of old programs trying to reclaim their place. So now, live it, walk it, wake it, feel it. Each time life hands you contrast, as it will, ask yourself, which version of me is being invited right now? That's the code. That's the gate. You didn't jump into another timeline. You collapsed the illusion of separation between you and the version of you who was always waiting. That life was never out of reach. That self was never unreachable. The entanglement was always active. You just stopped ignoring it. Now the only thing left to do is live as if this is normal. Because when it becomes normal, it becomes real. Your timeline doesn't upgrade through force. It upgrades through embodiment. Now breathe. Feel what's different in your body. Not what you hope, but what you already know. That's your signal. That's your anchor. That's your proof. If this video found you at the right time, if it reminded you of something ancient inside you, then this is your sign. Don't let the algorithm decide when you remember again. Subscribe to this channel, not because you were told to, but because something inside you wants to stay connected to this field, this resonance, this frequency that you now carry. Tell me in the comments, not just what changed, but what new reality you're ready to embody. Describe it, even in one sentence, not as a wish, but as a recognition. Let your words be the signal that tells the field, I'm already here. Because when you name the life you're now living, you activate it in others, and the field responds in kind. This is how we shift, together.